All right, hey everybody. Today we've got Jorge on the potty. This is going to be a completely unscripted conversation. We've got some hot take conversations for enterprise sales, and probably why we both have bags under our eyes from staying up late lately. But Jorge, welcome. Come on, let's do the intro and let's get to it, I guess.
Beautiful. Thanks, Spencer. First of all, thanks for the invite. We've had a few really good conversations in the past. I remember Nathan brought you in for the Clay Boot Camp for to speak to us a little bit about your experience, and I immediately messaged you like, dude, let's have another conversation offline between us. I just vibed a lot with the way like your approach, the way you're thinking about your agency and all that. And that conversation turned into talking about like babies, gaming us when we were being young, about like traveling, family, all of that. So super excited for this podcast and to talk about all of it here.
Cool. So, should we just start with the hottest take that we had, which is like probably leaning on your domain of like the Rolodex is dead?
Let's do it. Yeah, I think um, there's two reasons why I think the Rolodex is dead. One is with AI and how easy it is to build new technology. There's a lot of more technology that is going to be built, and there's not enough people having Rolodexes to be meaningful for all the new markets and all the new technology that is being created. So that's kind of like the point in time take of how AI impacts that. And then the other side, the flip side is we we're living in a world where companies want to build systems. They want to build like a money generating machine. And I think when you bring on someone with a Rolodex, it has like a finite number of leads or deals that they could intro you based on their past experiences, based on people that they know, and those incentives are de aligned. So the company is looking for a long term sustainable system, like revenue generating system, and then the person is has a different incentive because they know a bunch of people. They don't want to burn their trust with that people, but at the same time they know a certain number of amount of people. So if they go into all of their Rolodex or all of their contacts and say like, "Hey, I started this new job. I'm selling this new thing. Can you guys, who's interested?" And you can close a bunch of deals really fast. But then, what are you gonna do with that seller long time? What are you gonna do with that? Uh, and by the way, someone that's gonna cost you a lot of money because these type of senior salespeople are usually very expensive. So they're gonna burn through the trust of their contacts, which hurts them. They're probably gonna close a lot of deals really fast. So short term win for the company, yes, but long term lose for the company because they're not gonna build like a sustainable revenue generating machine that's gonna be predictable. So
So, what do you think is like really more important? Because I know we talked about this. It's like we work with a lot of founders, right? It's like the mindset between, machine, like a finite network system versus kind of like the infinite, kind of the target addressable market, right? We hear this word TAM, 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 TAM mapping, just building all this crap, right? How do you personally, or how have you seen it done where you're shifting the mindset for like a founder or an operator going from like network tapping versus like true demand gen?
I think first I have a hot take about the Tam Sam Sum, the famous three words, and my hot take there is like founders have been raising money and talking to investors with this made up numbers based on statistics about like geography, how many people, like how many, uh, like some sort of like very macro studies. And we're moving into a world where you can actually test your tam sam sum, like who's your total addressable market, who are the companies, what are their domains, who are the people that are working in those. And we're moving in a world where you can easily do that math by experiment, first by building like a massive list of who are your the number of companies that you can actually address, and reaching out to them to see how many are interested in your in the problem that you're solving. I think for too many years founders raised money and sold companies and bought companies using those made up numbers, and now investors are pushing back of like, is that really your sum? Like, are do you can you really create that demand? Can you really, like, are they really interested in the problem that you're solving? And that's gonna create like a different process where instead of founders building like a pitch deck and going out and raising money, they're gonna have to build a pitch deck, experiment a little, find actual traction, and then go and raise money. So that's kind of a change that I'm seeing just by talking with a lot of VCs, private equity firms, and founders. Um, but yeah, going back to your question, can you repeat it again?
I forgot the question. I'm sorry. I thought of a new one though.
Okay, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
I'm sorry, I messed up. I mean, this is like why I
Nice.
don't like doing the special cuts, right? I mean, like I think like some of these companies, right? And I've noticed this is like the fastest growing companies have like the worst salespeople. And I and I think you're closer to the action than I am, but I always end up working with the VP of sales or like with these revenue operations people, and they're like, "Why isn't shit closing?" Well, you hired this really expensive guy, 18 months ago. They burned their bridges, and you guys didn't put a system in place. Yip de doo de doo. Like now you have to hire me to fix the shit, right? Um, but you come from the sales training background, so is that like it's still existent, right?
Yeah, it's still a problem. I think I don't want to tie back everything to AI, but I think with a lot of AI slop, sellers have lost their touch with the basics. Um, and when I'm talking about like the basic parts of selling, it's like sending a meeting reminder, setting a confirmation, sending like a recap email, um, building like a deck that doesn't have any typos, or that it's not like slop, it's like real critical thinking of someone going through that. And I think when time as time passes and you get into like sales leadership and VP of sales positions, and you've not sold for so long, you start losing track of those basic aspects of the selling process. And then you start seeing deals stall or go cold, and you don't understand why, because you're not kind of training on the basics. So I think that has a lot to do. And then I think there's also, on the flip side, a lot of companies are also hiring like very young, very like right out of college salespeople that don't understand the problems of your market really well, that don't understand even like the business world. They don't understand how budget works, how stakeholders, how like multi-threading, how like none of these things work. And then what happens is you cheap out, on talent, and then you have like a 6 9 month delay when you start noticing that those experiments or those decisions that you make way long ago are not getting good results.
So do you think that? and we this is like very relevant to like what we do as people that are helping these like sales, these enterprise sales teams and stuff like this. Do you feel like it's more important to have a good offer or a good seller?
A good offer or a good seller? I think I would prefer a good seller because I heavily think great offers make the worst sellers. So if I think back to like the biggest companies in the world, they have so much demand out of like their marketing, their brand awareness, the like everyone knows them. So 60 or 50% of the trust work that you need to do as a seller is already done by marketing. So you turn into an I know corporate bro is always making fun of these people like order takers or people they're sellers that are just jumping on call after call after call and they're just taking orders versus when you have an offer that's not as good or product that hasn't been in the market for so long, doesn't have that much of a brand awareness. Like the seller needs to build that trust from zero, and that's harder to do through email, through cold outbound, through like cold calling, things like that. So they get better at approaching someone that has never known them, that doesn't know anything about their company, that doesn't know anything about them, and create that trust and that a deal and that sales process into a way that's repeatable and that you can grow within.
Hmm. That's I would I would be interested to disagree with that. I would say a great offer would beat a great seller. At least until you start to get like to like a traditional sales motion. Actually, like I think like if you have like a great seller, it's cake. Like you can sell paper to a printing machine, right? But like I what I've seen is where it's more like PLG. It's like you will totally know if that offer if it's positioned well enough. And I think this is what I love doing is I like stepping on the gas of like what people are doing. I'm not disagreeing with you like fully, but what I'm saying is like nowadays like now we have like tools like Clay, we have tools with like Claude and like GPT and all this stuff. And what you can do is just completely rapidly experiment on different offers, on different positionings with the same product, with this, with the same value add, right? And that's what a lot of teams are doing. That's what we do is we put everything in either a repo and we pull from the repo and we say, okay, match this feature to this need that came up in the call recording from Gong or from Fireflies. And then from there, we just enable the reps, right? And I think it becomes exponentially easier for these sellers to become great at their job if the offer's well positioned.
I think so too, but then if you're if all the systems are being created for these sellers are already showing most of the data, showing most of the context, and doing most of the work for them, then are they really being great sellers, or are they just being handed like the data points into specific things that are helping them close more deals?
Exactly. That's exactly where I was getting to. It's because I think like the fundamental skill that's becoming more and more scarce nowadays is just listening in general. Like I don't think a lot of people like go to discovery calls. Like great sellers will shut up. Like you have all of these tools to tell you like percentage of talk time and all this like whatever,
Uh,
man, like what like it's fine like to build the rapport, but I feel like the best sellers ask questions and then disqualify, and I think that's what enterprise people do. I mean there's so many systems and there's so many tools that have been developed that have just been placed in the hands of enterprise sellers, in my opinion, where they are, for instance, I don't generally believe that enterprise sales is significantly harder than SMB or mid-market sales. That's my hot
Interesting.
take.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
I just think that people that are in enterprise sales have a longer attention span and they're able to contextualize across different people and different needs a lot easier. That's the only difference between enterprise sellers and mid-market, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't I don't disagree. I don't disagree because I've been like an SMB seller, and the grind is hard, dude. Like I had to close like 15, 20 deals each month, and the context switching is brutal. It's brutal. And like the volume of messages, emails, and contracts that you're going through um is so high. It's like it's tiring for sure. But I also think that like the skill set is just so different. Like when you're in enterprise sales, you have to think about like how does this tie back to like quarterly goals? Like what's the story that we're selling to the whole organization? How are you multi-threading? Like it just it's kind of like a fully different job. It's like a whole different beast. So I don't think I think I don't disagree with you, but I also think we're not comparing apples to apples. We're like comparing different fruits with each other, but it's basically like a different job. And I wouldn't like to say that one's easier or not. But the amount of information that you're digesting, it's also very different from one and the other.
Yes, I think instead of having 200 accounts, you have 50, right? But for each account, you have four people that you're talking to. You have four people you have to make happy, right? I think it's easier for me because I like to multi-thread, and I think it like contextually, it's I'm selling into these like Series B, Series C, or like even these larger enterprises, right? And all I do is I just talk to the people that are in pain, and then I ask to talk to the people ground level, and then I start to talk to the people that are actually controlling the wallet. And then you just line up all of their, all seven of their, their needs and their wants and their timelines. And for me, it is hard, but it's very interesting. So for me, it becomes a lot easier than trying to say like, trying to put somebody in a bucket. I feel like that happens a lot, and I feel like that happens a lot from like a lot of like people I would say like us that are building these like outbound motions where it's like, hey, buy this $5,000 thing. Hey, buy this $6,000 thing. Hey, get on the call with us. Hey, would you be interested in this cheat sheet? And and this is the bullshit that's going on, right? So, okay,
I
I
I
have
think
misspoken. It might not be easier, but I guess for me and my desire, it would be easier.
yeah, I think fundamentally is the difference because there are two types of policemen. There's the one that gives out like traffic tickets, which is transactional. It's like, I see you're speeding. I'm going to give you a ticket right now. And there's the detective that's like the homicide detective that's studying like who's the person that was killed, how, why, what are their like close people, why would someone have a beef with them, and they're going deeper and deeper, and they're both working for the police, but they're two different jobs altogether.
Yeah. So, do you think that there's ever scenarios nowadays that kind of like more of a human-based selling approach still wins? Or do you feel like, I know that we're like just going back to the topic of like a Rolodex or like a book of people that you can call up and be like, hey dude, buy this. Hey dude, I think that this would be great. Like, do you still think that this exists?
Yeah, I think it's never going to go away because when you're hiring a salesperson and you're going through and you're interviewing the person that has like a book of business that they can immediately plug into your business, it's always going to be more tempting than hiring someone that has very good potential to build something long term. So I think that's going to continue happening. But I also think that with go to market engineering, we're going to start transitioning that process into when is the right time to message someone that you might know. And there's a lot of tools are being created in that space where instead of you burning through your bridges really fast, you're kind of systemizing the approach of how do you reach out to them. I know the swarm is one that has been used a lot. I recently spoke with the founder of HiveSite, which is doing something similar to kind of just creating like your own cluster of really deep connections. And it's going to get better and better with time because um, how do I explain this? It's so hard. Like you can know, like for example, I have 8, 10, you might have a few thousand followers on LinkedIn, but that doesn't mean that you have a deep connection with each of them. And the public data that you can scrape to validate if you have a deep connection with someone that's on your LinkedIn follower list or your connections, it's minimal. Like what you can check comments, likes, the real juicy data, it's in DMs. If you've DM'd with someone like 50, 100, 150 messages, that's where you know like you went through like adding a connection to like, yeah, I could call this person my friend and I can actually reach out to them. But that data is not publicly available. So I think there is a world where we can systemize, and it's gonna keep building. And I think tools like the Swarm and like HiveSite, they're gonna continue building, and they're gonna finally find a solution to one, find a way to validate how close a relationship you have with someone that you can actually reach out to for like that Rolodex intro. And secondly, um, when is the right or the perfect time to reach out? And I think there are tools like Clay, like Common Room, like user search, like that creates signals based on certain account things are happening, hiring, racing, technographic, a bunch of different reasons that you can then go to your network and be like, hey, Spencer, I saw that you hired this role or that you're using this tool, and this is the way that we can this is what I'm working on right now, and this is how I can think I could help you, and that's going to be more powerful. So I don't think the Rolodex it's gonna stop existing. I just think the way we're approaching it, it's changing as these tools are coming out.
Do you okay? Yeah, I think this is where we start getting into like what we do is like signal based playbooks and what is a signal, what is intent, how do we define the differences between the two, right? And like for instance, like I'm with the Swarm, like I like luckily like I'm very good friends with both of the co-founders, and what I'm using them for is to map the target accounts for some of like my clients, and to see who knows who, and then use that data to not sequence on top of that data immediately, but wait for an engagement, wait for intent, wait for like a cluster of signals, right? Like, okay, the company just raised funding, you've gotten hired, it says on LinkedIn or Swarm data says that like you were hired within your start date was in the last 4 months as the VP, like maybe you actually have just been in the door, right? Nobody changes. The thing with LinkedIn is that people are the problem, is that they don't update their information as much as they want. And so then by the time like people update their information, it's all screwed. So the easiest way is just to see who knows who at the end of the day, right? Like relationship based selling. And these signals, like there's all of the data is being commoditized. And I think that's a good thing, but also a bad thing, because we look at who the data is out there. If you're smart enough, you'll go get it. You'll build that web scraper. You'll go to Appify. You'll build that thing. But if you're lazy, then you can sell the shortcut and you can sell the pre-built tool to go scrape that data or to consolidate or that bridge, right? Like, and I think Clay is a really good I think Clay is a really good example of like the easy way to do something that's not technically hard, but making it very easy to do many of those things at one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think the sweet spot, it's right in the middle. Like you can do one to everyone. So you can create a list with everyone that you want to target and do like a message for everyone. But that message is going to be templatized because since everyone has like different companies, different jobs, different titles, you need to consolidate a lot of the messaging to make it fit like one to everyone. But then there's the other side of that where it's one to one, where you're going to each lead one by one, opening the LinkedIn, seeing who they know, what they do, what they've done in their past, where do they work for, going to their website, seeing what jobs they have available. That's the one to one. That's what most enterprise sellers do, and one to everyone is what most SMB sellers do. They just throw in and whatever bites, it's good. And I think the sweet spot, it's right in the middle where you're not, when you're personalizing enough where you stand out from the crowd, but you're not spending as much time as the one to one, so you can do a little bit of more volume, but you're not also sending like a super generic, very templatized thing for every single one. So I think the sweet spot's going to be in the middle, and with the right signals. So when you reach out to the right person at the right time, that's where the magic happens.
Right person, right time, right message.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I give the floor to you. What hot take or what question would you like to explore now? Because I've covered everything that I thought that I mean I thought it was going to take us a lot longer to go through everything, but I feel like we can add some spice to this conversation again.
Um, we can talk about like the LinkedIn algorithm and how it's kind of promoting people with very hot takes. Like, dude, I've been fired up about this. I see a lot of people don't hire an agency because you're gonna spend this much and you're gonna do this, and that. And I just created a tool that you can use my tool so you don't have to hire an agency. And when you see their profile, they're like right out of college or they've been working at an enterprise company for 20 years. Um, and they haven't sold anything in their life. And I'm like, dude, come on. Like, how is the LinkedIn algorithm kind of promoting this bullshit?
I thought you were gonna call my ass out. I'm like, don't.
No, no, I was
I was
good.
like, oh god, and then you're like, okay, the guys from like the 20, right out of college. I was like, okay, okay, it's not me. Um, yeah, I think. Well, I think the anti-agency approach is like pretty relevant right now because it's like I feel like a lot of people are getting pissed off about like paying for agencies and then the agency turns around and whips its neck and is like, ah shit, we created crap work because we hired these people halfway across the world, right? They're so disjointed from the
Yeah,
business, the business venture and the business strategy that like they can't be connected ground level, right? And I'm saying this on the umbrella
macro.
terminology here, right?
Yeah,
Um, I genuinely believe that like if you do a good job for 2, 3, 4, 6 months, and you get in, you do your shit, you get out, and that team is self sufficient, and everything like that's successful in my opinion. That's my definition of success. But I
yeah.
feel like this go build a tool, go use this N8N template. Hey, I built this N8N template to replace 10 of my marketing team members. The rest of that sentence is I never hired 10 people because I don't have the money to hire 10 people, and I built this tool because it was easier.
I love that take. 100% with you. Um, I think there's also a problem with agencies that want to work with customers forever. And I don't think the agency model fits for that, of like that retention. And we all have like the SaaS background of like the software as a service, like retention, you want to keep, you want to farm, you whatever. I don't think the agency plays really well with that because like real success comes from they being able to be successful without you for them. And for you, real success comes from like staying and working there forever, and like having a client that can pay you for a long time that you can retain. And I think those two incentives are de-aligned. um, so it creates for a bad experience. So if you have hundreds of agencies, a lot of having this misaligned incentives, that's going to create like a bad flavor for the market around that. So the way that I like to approach it is, I like to build and teach. So instead of my service being like a black box where you just give me a few inputs about your business, I go and build and launch the campaigns, I just pass you leads. I I build the clay table with you. I teach someone from your team how to build it. I do like a session where I built myself. I co-build with someone. Someone builds without me, and I just give them feedback. And we iterate on that formula for a while, just to make sure that I can go away in any time, and they can keep running this new style, new way of thinking about campaign signals and all this without me.
Yeah, and I think the education part is like what's missing, I've talked to a few other people in this like podcast series as well as like on LinkedIn. It's like you as a buyer need to do your own due diligence in educating yourself before you come to like somebody like me or somebody like you, Jorge. Like we can't hand you, well, we can hand you everything on a silver plate, but you're probably not going to want to pay for it, right? And I think, and this is what I teach the boot camp students too. It's, well, go ahead, go ask the experts. Like you can text me anytime you want, but like don't expect me to open the whole textbook and find in chapter 8 and that one line and explain that to you. Like come prepared, say I read the whole book, I had issues, I saw the YouTube channel, I saw your explanation, and I just had a question about that one thing in particular. Could you explain it to me? And I think that education is missing in a lot of these like the it's missing in a lot of like the sales positions now of, we see this tool, I want to make my job easier. LinkedIn says Clay's the answer. Let's go buy Clay. I don't think that there's like this connection in between that is happening as much as it should, because I honestly believe, like, before we started the recording, you were like, yeah, we're all in the same circle. It's a bubble, bro. You know? And and I think like, I talked to a lot of like the Series A like type of founders as well as like some other agencies, and like most of the Series A people, if they went through a funding round, they probably know a lot of other Series A founders, right? So it's getting, not getting in bed with them, but kind of like understanding why they're on the mission, why did they choose that accelerator, why did they choose that, incubator or whatever, and say, oh, of course, like from my side, I'm going to ask you, like, who do you know? Like, do you have a springboard that's also learning with you? Like, what information are you curious about in the market? And then I can start educating them before they even buy. And to me, that's like my version of teaching, you know?
Yeah, I think that's super powerful, but I also think companies need to have a higher threshold when hiring an agency, because I've seen companies like, hey, I hired this dude that completed the clay cohort, or that like he told me he knew how to use these tools, and it's like, but had, like, did that person showed you something that they built? Like that like, did you give them like an assignment or something to validate that they're good at this? Because like I have like a tool analogy that I always like to say. Like you can give a hammer to anyone and they can use the hammer. Like they know how to use the tool. But it's not as giving like the wood, the nails, and the hammer to a carpenter to build out like a chair or a table. Like it's not using the tool that's powerful. It's what can you build with it that's useful. And you need, when you're hiring, you need to ask when you're hiring, you need to ask what, show me a table that we've built, show me a chair, because I don't give I don't care about the nails or the hammer. I don't care about the tools. I care about like the final products and the results.
And I think where that's where the miseducation is like people are purchasing tools when they should be purchasing like they're purchasing the like the individual features of those tools when they should be purchasing based on their strategy, right? And I talk about this a lot on LinkedIn is like, dude, don't make that fucking impulsive decision because you know you're gonna have tech bloat and then you're gonna complain you're spending like $88,000 a year on like things that you're only like underutilizing, right? And these this mindset of show me what you've done before is super powerful once you've gotten the reps in, right? Like if I had a sales question, or like I'm texting you like over Slack, right? I'm gonna be like, hey, dude, like I got blah blah blah. But and I think like it's interesting to think about because what I'm noticing is like a pattern in the market right now is people feel a lot more comfortable if they're one if they're coming as a referral and two if you can connect them with somebody else that you've worked with. That is the easiest way that I've ever closed a deal. It's like some startup A, like Series A founder had a networking conversation, didn't pitch shit, just didn't like he wanted me as a design partner, and he was like Wednesday, literally this week, he was like, yeah, like I think that you should have a conversation with this person. Wrote me on LinkedIn, like follow up from a conversation. I know this guy. He's looking for somebody to do a 90-day sprint. He might reach out. Here's his LinkedIn. Boom. Guy wanted me to accept the connection request on LinkedIn. Texted him. He's like, hey, can you talk today? Literally less than like 2 hours away. Screw it. Like, yeah, I'll move the thing. Let's go. Get on the call. He's like, yeah, I think you're the right guy. By the way, can you connect me with any Series A, Series B founders that are like in the fintech space that I can talk to before we talk again on Friday? I was like, let's go.
Yes, I got you.
So, and like, I've got you. Like, go ahead. Like, I can sell you something, but I would rather you guys go talk to somebody that has worked with me before, right?
Yeah. Do you know how I call that? I'm gonna shout out my friend Arthur Castillo from Storylane. I call that customer-led growth. So how are you using your customers, um, and not only like case studies, because I know case studies are like a thing of the past. They're
I don't
but
think
but
so. I don't think
but
so just yet. But yeah.
yes, yeah. I don't know. I don't love case studies, but I don't. I think when you send a case study to a potential customer, you when you send a case study to a potential customer, you're putting the burden on them to read and understand your story, which is hard, which is fundamentally hard. I think when you send an introduction to someone that you've worked, one, they improve their network. Two, the person, like, they're trying to solve a problem that someone already solved through you. So they're going to be much better explaining, like, this is me, this is the problem that I had, this is how I hired Spencer, this is how he solved it, and these are the results. And the trust is also very different. Like a case study, you write yourself and you can be very picky on what you include and what you don't include. And then, but when you're talking with a customer, you can be picky. Like that person is going to be like transparent on what he liked and what he didn't like. So the trust factor of like a customer conversation with it versus a case studies is very different.
I think yeah, okay. So I take it back that case studies are dead in comparison to this because they are. I think like I think the way that you just said it is really really interesting. It's like a trust vector, and it's like not to be confused with thrust vectoring with like in gaming, but it's a that's a little gaming joke that Jorge and I go back and forth on. Yeah, I think what you're saying about trust vectoring between like somebody that wants to work with you versus somebody that has worked with you, and you removing yourself out of that equation so that they can have an honest conversation about you. I think that is the simple and the strongest way for somebody to be like, okay, this guy is legit, or this person is legit, right?
Yeah. By the way, I think there's a space in the market up for grabs of making that gap as easy as possible. Of how do you classify how do you convince and classify the customers that you have and make their agendas available for pre-classified customers that you're talking pre pre-classified prospects that you're talking to that should talk with your customers, and making that the easiest way possible, where I can be like, hey Spencer, wanna call, you're talking to me about your problems. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I solved that problem with like so and so. Let me just book you a call with them right now. In a way that it's pre-agreed. There's a way, there's like a pre-negotiation or something happening where you can make that as easy as possible.
I think that there's an I forget the name of it. I think there's like an application that goes like it sits on your website and it's like talk to our customers, like hear our stories from our customers. And I've seen it and I don't remember the name of it. And I'm sure when I post it, there's gonna hopefully there be a comment telling me what it is. But I've seen it. It's like you go on somebody's website and like there are case studies and there are little like there are the buttons. And it says call with like go talk to this customer, and it's like you click it and it like brings you to like booking or it brings you to like that person's page. And I think that's super powerful. What I usually do is like when people ask for case studies, I'm like, let me just write you an email. I'll just write you 3 emails, and whoever you want to connect with, like, go connect with them. But of course, like I'm selective with the people that I would like you guys to go talk to, because sometimes I don't want a Series A person go talk to the marketing agency that it's just not relevant for them, right? So I do think that it comes down to like how good of a seller you are at the end of the day, right? So yeah, I mean it's a good point. Maybe we can build an app for that. Be kind of fun. So what I usually do though with my partners, and I don't know if you actually already have this, but like with the partners that I work with, like other agencies, with like for instance like fractional salespeople, maybe even like videographers and stuff like this, or even just in general anybody that I want to book a call with, I will just give them access to my Google Calendar. Like I will send them
Mm.
like subscribe to another calendar on Google and it comes up in a different color. And what I'll do is like if you want me to just like schedule something on your calendar, if you want to just share your calendar back with me, then I don't ever have to look, but just give me busy. Like just show me if it's busy or not. If I don't
And I
have
can just
that,
go.
and then I could just go. It becomes a little bit easier. Not a lot of people want to do that. Um, but what I do, I just write the email. I like put everybody in the header, and I like remove myself. I was like, don't include me in the next conversation. I'll let you guys to have this conversation offline.
Yeah, but you're still putting the burden of acting on that and booking the call on them. But yeah, there's definitely like easier ways that this thing can be approached, but nothing it's better than a prospect having a conversation with someone that you've already solved the problem for, and that fills their classification of the type of company that are the same between your prospect and customer.
I agree. I think I think I would love for you to describe in maybe like 4 or 5 sentences or however long you want to go on for it, whatever. I would love for you to give a piece of advice on any topic, but possibly we can explore the topic of this. If you were to give a piece of advice to any sales organization that is looking to hire somebody like us in the go-to-market or sales acceleration space, or even trying to make their sales organization more efficient or better, or whatever have you, what would that piece of advice be?
That piece of advice would be that first, validate what you want to grow before hiring full time. And I think that's where the agency play comes in really good, where you can hire an agency, you can validate like some sort of experiment and something that works, and then hire someone full time to do that moving forward. And also make sure whoever you hire has put the reps in. Um, Someone that can show you the results that they gotten, that they can show you they can build. something that is going to get you results, but also someone that can find specific points that are valuable to you. Because I also know of other agencies that use recycle plays over and over for different clients. And I think each client deserves having quality business strategy conversations that could be turned into like data points and go to market orchestration.
That's solid advice. Okay, so I think we wrap up.
Okay.
Uh, Unless you want to keep going, we can keep going if you want. But yeah, I've run out of things to talk about on this episode
I
at least.
I think we're good. I think we're good. We didn't cover like we both have like a gaming background, which I think it's interesting. Given this that we're not running our own companies, and there's some sort of points there that we can cover about like being competitive,
Do,
finding a solution for
do,
things
do
in our
you
games.
do you believe that the best do you believe that the best sales leaders come from a gaming background then?
Not sure if gaming alone, but like competition background. Like there's a lot of professional athletes that run huge sales organizations and B2B. So I think when you create that muscle memory in your mind around like I just need to get the reps, I just need to put in the work, I just need to concentrate and get great at my craft, and that's what professional athletes do, and that's what professional gamers do. So I think that just translates great to just general work.
Treat it like a game, try to win.
Exactly.
Are you still playing?
I'm not, dude. I miss it. I miss it a lot. But yeah, with like I just had like a baby, 6 months old. I'm trying to work out as much as possible and just spend as much time with family. I haven't had the time for gaming. I even sold all my consoles.
No.
Yeah.
You sold them? Oh
Yeah.
man. I have been this is the last week of this year that's like a full work week and I am just so tired. I go to bed and I'm like this and I it's been rough. I feel like neither one of us are sleeping and I would love to be playing video games too, but I always shout out to Adam Andrzejewski and Rizwan as well. I try to get them on the games all the time, but God, man, like
So hard.
I don't have the mental strength to like open the game and play for 40 minutes. It's a rough one this year. I mean, it's good. It's rough good, but
Yeah, a lot of work. It's a good problem to have in our industry. Um, But yeah, we can wrap it up. Thanks for the podcast invitation, Spencer. It's always really nice talking with you. If anyone sees this podcast and has any questions, feel free to reach out via LinkedIn. That's where I'm more connected. Um, Not only if you want to answer any questions, if you want to brainstorm about like sort of your own GTM motion or anything, I'm always down to chat. I'm always down to help, and yeah, I'm always down to vibe some go to market engineering topics
and Halo.
and Halo and Call of Duty.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining, and Jorge, thanks for joining too.
Take care. Bye.